So any of you seen Kanye West falling apart lately on TV or YouTube or whatever it was, have to see that this is actually really sad. I don't know what's happened to the guy. Now, I've also heard that he came out as being bipolar. I'm bipolar. I don't know what type it was, but then he's doubled back and said that he's not, and it was just a doctor, and I think he was claiming they were Jewish. I don't know. Trying to kill him. Now, if you're in the stages of mental health problems, you can delude yourself that in some cases a doctor that's trying to do you some harm, or not, sorry, the doctor's not trying to do you some harm, you'll believe they are. There are doctors out there that actually did harm. I mean, Harold Shipman, stuff like that. And there's varying levels in between. And there's been a doctor in the UK, a physician, that came out and said that doctors and the medical profession used to be a profession for good, but now it's actually become more of a business. And the side of it that he liked, the trying to fix people and treat people, that reached its peak, and now it's starting to return in such a way that more people are dying now than were before. He went into great details about that. I'm not going to try and explain it now, but anyway, I believe that Kanye West is having a mental breakdown. I believe that he's in his head decided that all Jews are bad, right? And then he'll say not all Jews are bad, then he'll change his mind. But I actually think that he's got a particular problem, and he's now doubling down and doing his best to irritate them at every turn he can. When he said Nazis are good, yeah, how do you unpack that one? Now, were there people within the Nazis that were fighting just for their country that didn't do war crimes? Yes. Were there people within the Nazis that weren't aware of the Holocaust? Probably. Were there Nazis that weren't aware of the concentration camps that had all of the other people in it and the medical experiments? Probably. But a shed load of them knew. All right. It's, I suppose, in the same way, it's like saying, is a British soldier, when he was at war, say, for instance, during World War II, aware of everything that the British Army was doing around the world? No, not at all. But history has worked out that there were many, many, many high-ranking Nazis that were the most sickest and evil bastards going. Now, he said that Hitler did some good things. Okay. I'd love him to come out and tell me some of them. I mean, there is the fact that he allegedly turned a third world country around to being a first world country quite quickly. He built things like the autobahns and stuff like that. Where did the money come from and all the rest of it is another story, but I wouldn't glamorize Hitler in any way, shape or form. And I don't ever want to be a supporter of the Nazis, ever. Just no. So there it is. And I suppose there's going to be some on the extreme right that are going to call me out. Crack on. But all I can say is that I think that he's lost his mind. And I think that he's not medicated. And I think that he's really, really going downhill because he isn't medicated and because he's going to be surrounded as well by yes men. His entire group won't want to be cast out of the group, so they'll just tell him whatever he wants to hear at the time. That's a problem. The other thing about having a huge sum of money is you get paranoid about the people around you. If you listen to any person that's ever had money, they said this, they get paranoid. Then add into that, there could be drug misuse as well. Don't know, could be. Or there could have been prior drug misuse in his history that's helped do this. I'm aware that some people that smoke large sums of cannabis can get a thing called psychosis. But whatever. I wouldn't imagine that having bipolar untreated is a good thing if you've got bad bipolar. I medicate myself in so much as I don't take drugs for it. I make sure I get the right food. I make sure I get the right amount of sleep or as much as I can. And I'm always wary. But I've got mild bipolar. What he has at the moment I have no idea, actually. I'd love to know what he's actually... I really would love to be able to get in his head and find out what's he seen. What has he seen that's turned him this way so much? Because he may well have seen stuff. It's very possible that he's seen some horrendous stuff being in the upper echelons, because we know that some of the circles, or the people that he knew, moved in some dodgy circles. We knew this. He may well have been party to it or not, I don't know. But I think that people like, well, maybe not, I don't know. Alex Jones, if you listen to what the Young Turks were saying, because I was just watching some of the clips that they clipped from the Young Turks, as it was the first one popped up, they're saying that Alex Jones wanted to whitewash him and say that he wasn't a bad guy and that he's not a Nazi. And then obviously he came out and did that. Tim Pool, call it what you like, he walked out the interview with him. But he's not showing that he's balanced at all. And I'm no doctor or psychiatrist, but it's almost as if there's multiple personalities there at the same time. There might not be, I don't know. But I suggest that he is falling apart, and anybody who wants to prosper from this by getting him on to make him look more ridiculous is a bit of an arse, in my view. You know, if you think you're trying to help him, you're not. If you put a camera and a mic in front of him at the moment, he'll do more harm to himself. He needs to be treated, and he needs to be surrounded by the people he loves and trusts, and they need to encourage him to get some help. That's my view. I was listening also to the Young Turks, and they said, we remember the rise. And there's a lot of people on the right that think that Hitler was a good man and did nothing wrong. On a percentage, the amount of people that think that, probably about 1%, 2%. There it is. And anybody who disagrees with those people, which obviously I do, because I don't think he was a force for good at all. My granddad, he went into the camps after and released some of them. So I know the camps existed, all right? So that's what makes me crack up when people think I'm a Holocaust denier. No, my granddad went into those camps. I know they exist. However, the thing is, what I said was everything's always open to question. Nothing is set in stone. That was enough, by the way. So there you are. But yeah, after what I said yesterday about me being an activist for white people, yeah, white people's rights, because I believe that there is an active thing about diminishing our rights and making us out to be the bad guy at every opportunity, and lots of other things. But that doesn't mean that when somebody like Kanye West comes along and you can see the guy's falling apart, that I don't want to stand up for him and say to people, stop taking advantage of a man who's having a breakdown. This is not good. But they do this a lot. I noticed this a lot with reality TV. They used to like to get the vulnerable people on, then promise they were going to make them up to, you know, they're going to have the world in the palm of their hands, and then they pull the rug out from underneath them and watch them fall apart and ruin their dreams. It's the most cruelest thing going, and I couldn't fathom what people would see about that as being entertainment. There were highlights of it when you had that Scottish lass with autism, that she was a bit weird, a bit quirky, and then came on and her voice was so epic and so brilliant that it didn't matter how she looked or how she acted, her voice worked, and that was it. And she's been able to use it ever since, and I can't remember her name. But there were many more that came and went, and they were taken up there and come back down here. And the worst of it is, when you've been up there and you're never going to go back up there again, what have you got to look forward to? And it ruins people's lives. A lot of people think that anybody doing this wants to be famous. No, I couldn't think of anything worse in my life, right? Can you imagine being known everywhere? Can you imagine people always trying to catch you out? Can you imagine not knowing that the people, well, not being sure that the people who were around you because they liked you and not just because they wanted to get some sort of notoriety by knowing you, or they wanted some of your money or whatever. So no, not something I ever fancied ever. And I'm glad that, you know, people like me ain't never going to get that shit. It's nice to have a platform to speak on, but it is modest, incredibly modest. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm working nights at the moment. That's not a good thing. This is 12:43 and I've been up for, I don't know, 15 hours. It's not good, you know. But anyway, there it is. Right. If there's any more news stories and I can get doing before I eventually go off to bed, I will do. But I hope you're all well. The response to me saying that I'm a white activist is resoundingly good. I was expecting a lot more grief. I was expecting a lot of people to unsubscribe, but they didn't. It went the other way. But as I say, and I must reiterate, I am not joining any other movements. I am not setting up a movement. I am not doing anything different than just calling out the shite that's going on. Now, however, if something pops its head up, like an event or something, say, for instance, I don't know, I was asked to go and speak somewhere, that might be something. But no, I think at the moment that people need to call it as it is and say it for what it is. So that's why I came out and said what I am yesterday. Other than that, no, I mean, I should imagine the likes of the system itself will think, is he starting up some far-right movement? No. Is he going to try and push race hatred? No. I'm not trying to remove anybody else's rights. Make sure you understand that. I don't want to remove their rights at all. I just want to make sure that we all have the same. Now, there's nothing that you can take from that that's bad. I want to make sure that we all have an equal playing field. All right? I don't believe in diversity quotas and stuff. I believe the best man or woman for the job is what I believe in. I don't believe that you should put people at the top of a housing list because of the colour of their skin. I think you should put people at the top of a housing list because they're the ones that needed it most or they've been on the list for the longest. You know, it's common sense is all I'm talking about. But where you see this actively happening and people being not taken care of purely for the colour of their skin, I'll call it out. There's obvious things like, why is it we're looking after all these people that are coming over the channel when we've got how many ex-servicemen on the street? I mean, we're giving money away hand over fist. We've got how many hundreds, possibly thousands of hotels fully booked up that you and I are paying for, okay, for these people. And yet there'll be old people that won't be able to feed themselves this winter, won't be able to stick the heating on, okay? You know, as I say, there'll be people with mental health problems that will be sleeping on the streets. There'll be people who served this country and now are on the streets. You know, I'm just calling that kind of stuff out. So there it is. Right, anyway, I shall get on. Don't forget, and some of you may or may not know, I closed down the Telegram channel. The reason being I was expecting a load of nutters to go in there and start blasting the place with all sorts of slurry stuff. So I preempted that one and got rid of it. It may not be gone forever, but at the moment, your only place that you can come on and post stuff is on Discord. The link is in the description. It isn't that difficult, but it's highly moderated. There are people on there all the time. So if there's anybody even posting anything remotely edgy, goodbye. And if there's people coming on saying, we need a revolution, we need to do this, we need to do that. No, shut up. You're never going to do anything. So don't come on here pretending that this is the place that it's going to happen and this is where it's all going to come from. It's not. You're either disingenuous, you're either trying to get something recorded on my platform, which you won't because you won't last 2 seconds. Goodbye, fuck off. All right. I'm about common sense. I'm about taking the legal route on everything. All right. Now, I'm sorry, that might depress people, but you use the law and you try to do everything legally for as long as you possibly can. So that's what I'm about. There's a lot of people think, oh, well, you only heard, there was a guy the other day that we did a live stream, I'm not going to mention his name, that believes that you can get a militia together and you can arm yourself. Yeah, of course you can, mate. Never mind. Anyway, I'm going to get off and I'll speak to you in a bit.